Wow, the music today on Power Breakfast, it's on a different level. Inira the band. And of course, I've seen a request that you need to redo the song Indiza. Yes? If Inira the band could redo that song in a short while, it would be nice. We continue our news review this morning with Senator Beatrice Elachi, Daisy Mdani, an analyst, and Cynthia Mutere, also governance analyst. And still to do the elections, there's so many discussions about it. The headline on the Daily Nation talks about the many obstacles and hurdles towards the election date. If I could just read that. Ballot papers, barely 6 months to the elections. We do not know yet who will print the ballot papers. Registration, Kenyans drag their feet to register as voters and then rush to court seeking an extension, which they were granted. Who qualifies? We do not even know who qualifies to vote. And an activist wants birth certificates declared valid documents in place of IDs. Voter register, court granted temporary orders suspending that tender award to KPMG for the audit. Resignations, court yesterday extended orders barring public servants eyeing political seats from resigning. Now that case will be heard on February 27th, surely.
The ballot is Kenya's most potent governance weapon, and so you're finding that instead of being a time of refreshing, a renewal of leadership, we are finding all these challenges to be insurmountable, thinking that probably we won't make the timelines. And I don't think we should be really looking at timelines right now. We should be looking at seeing how these questions really need to be addressed. Because I remember when we were doing the Okoa Kenya initiative, some of these were highlighted, and they were not addressed at that point. And so we took to the streets and actually got that public to move the IBC out. But these are questions that had been already raised from the Okoa Kenya initiative. Yes. I mean, when we saw that NYS were registering, and we did see in one of the press conferences, Senator Orengo and of course the leadership in court, they did display a whole array of youth who had been registered, and they did not know how they had been registered. And they said it came through the NYS BVR kids that belong to the...
All these hurdles, I don't know, Senator, is it just me, or are they causing exhaustion to the electorate, to the members of the public? All these things, we've been in an election mood for the last 2 years. Are we just getting tired even before we get to the elections?
Well, maybe the electorate, yes, might be getting tired for the politicians, because I always say this is a job of a politician. So he's now looking for a job. But at the same time, I would want to say also, I think the three arms of government should work in sort of harmony. I know we have to respect each other's turf, but at the same time, in such a scenario where you know this is the most sensitive thing, because we always balkanize it. We are now tribal. Or, I mean, I'm looking at the judge even in a tribal way, even when he gives in his, you know, that's how Kenyans are doing. They will not even appreciate the judge at that time sitting why he has given that ruling. But at the same time, I would wish the executive, the judiciary, the legislatures, sit down and have a way of saying, since this is our country, and we are moving to an election where everyone is looking at each of these, and especially I know why the judiciary will be very strict, is because everybody is now looking at them as the last resort. If anything happens this side, it is only judiciary to safeguard us on this side. So I would want to tell the judiciary, Kenyans have put their trust in you. Now when you're doing any ruling, put in mind that do not put any judgment in a manner that can sway Kenyans to think we can change the date.
Yes.
That one, let me say this. I think in that, Kenyans will now have a mind that regardless of all these challenges we are facing, we have an 8th of August election. Yes, because I had many Kenyans saying yesterday, oh, so now it seems even we can change this date of elections. I will say no.
You know, this is characteristic. This, by the way, is characteristic of Kenya and the electoral process. This is not the first time we've been here. We were here in 2007. We were here in 2013. The same shenanigans that we see, cancellation of tenders, last minute buying, and you know, and I think IBC unveiled a roadmap, a very clear roadmap a year ago, you know, detailing the processes. Now, I think even for Senator to come here and tell us that, as a legislator, as a member of the ruling administration, that's a cop-out, because this is a massive failure on the part of Parliament to legislate on time. This is a failure of the executive. It is a failure of so many arms. It's a failure of IBC. We had, Cynthia talks about the Okoa Kenya initiative, and we had
that was highlighting these failures to be addressed.
We have a joint team from the Senate that actually came together to put in place electoral laws and to mediate this process. These are some of the things that should have been highlighted.
And the failure was also...
so it's a massive failure across the board. And this one, not the opposition or the ruling administration or the executive can actually escape blame from this. The problem is this: we have such irresponsibility on the part of the leadership of this country across the board, because people fail to realize that the political pillar is such an important pillar, and its power to destroy both the economic and the social pillar is huge. A country that just 10 years ago was on the brink of disaster doesn't need to have these kind of scenes playing out, you know? And so I think that it is very, very irresponsible. Having said that, I think it's also important that we be able to balance public interest, you know, with the law, because you can't also say that judges shouldn't rule to uphold the law so that we maintain peace. You know, that is that accept and move on mentality. I think that the courts must enforce institutional capacities, to make sure that institutions abide by the law. And that even the respective arms do abide by the law, because they're the final arbiter. But for me, this is just characteristic, and I continually believe that our political class on both sides of the political divide have absolutely no interest in a credible process. That is why they just want a process that favors them, that gives them a personally a favorable outcome.
Let's talk about the politicians.
That is my personal opinion.
Because of time, I want us to move a bit faster and discuss something else still to do with this, and it's a development that could actually impact on aspirants directly. And it's on page 11 of the Daily or the Standard, and on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Tough new rules for aspirants on the way. Corrupt leaders to be locked out of August 8th polls. IBC tables new rules that demand a clearance certificate from everyone seeking an elective position. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission's powers to clear candidates for election have been enhanced in new regulations. So now you will need a clearance from EACC. Do you think many of the incumbents or those people in Parliament, your colleagues in the Senate, can actually
that was a regulation the last time, and everyone did get a clearance.
Last time, everybody's wondering this time what you're going to use. When I look at what we have today, what's part of being cleared. So I don't know how we are going to be cleared.
Because they say a candidate shall obtain and submit clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission as prescribed under the Leadership and Integrity Act. This places clearance squarely in the hands of the Anti-Corruption Commission.
But let's not forget that the parliamentarians also watered down the Leadership and Integrity Act. But if the Ethics and Anti-Corruption do their job well, then we should clear about 80% of the current leadership that we have. And I wonder if these requirements also go right to the top, because we really would want to see the Ethics and Anti-Corruption play that role. I don't have much faith in them. We have a new chairman, Webukala. Let's wait and see if the law will actually be applied.
Because depending on public prosecution,
this is a proposed law.
Because they cannot prosecute themselves. What if I was malicious enough and to try and stop the senator from running in Dagoretti North and come up with a case, and because it is not settled by the time we're going into elections, then she's barred from when it was something malicious where there was nothing to do with it. There are very many cases that have come up until you're cleared. Are we saying that if you have a case with...
You do not support this proposal?
I do support it. I do support the enforcement. But what about all the other leaders whose cases have not been highlighted, who have not been picked up by the Electoral Commission? Do they get clearance? Because I know the last time everybody got a certificate.
The law as it is right now, because this is a proposal, the law as it is right now states that a candidate shall submit a self-declaration form, self-declaration, as prescribed in the first schedule of the Leadership and Integrity Act. But now the proposal is you present a clearance
Of
from
what?
the EACC.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but
Not
what
just
but
but last time it was
EACC, the parameters are that they have no active cases against you. You know.
Yeah.
That there have been no. Yes, they have no active cases against you.
How do you speed up that process to be cleared and I'm cleared?
No,
So
but there are
anyone with an
clear
active
parameters.
case,
Yes, if you have an
you're
active case or allegations have been made against you and you
must
are to be
clear.
investigated, you know, so the parameters are
Not such a bad thing,
not.
I
I mean, this is in keeping with Chapter 6 of the
Well, that's
Constitution.
scary,
And for
Senator.
me,
No, it's good.
it should scare people, but you know, also given that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission really have.
Okay, who will pass these laws for them?
But you
Is
see,
it
that's the other
Parliament?
thing now.
It's up to Parliament. That's the
Oh
problem.
dear.
But
They
this
will water
Parliament-
it down. They will water it
So you
based
don't
on
think-
how
you don't think they're
and
following
then
them actually?
they will use Kenyans. Any politician who feel, oh, so you have used me, he will go whip up his base and come in numbers until you'll clear them.
Okay.
So we are saying that we are going to be under the tyranny and the bullying of leaders, you know, which is unacceptable.
Okay.
But I think it is
But
a
I
good
think it's
thing because
important. Yes,
it's in the
Let
law.
us have it.
Let's have it.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
you know, we are moving forward. We are still a young democracy. I always tell people, you know, sometimes when you read,
Pessimism, all in the system.
you know,
The
because
challenges
we
of
know
moving
our
forward.
people.
Let's move on with it. It is very important so
Okay.
that in future people
Okay.
will know these are
And
some
we
of
hope that the
things
ladies-
that-
now.
Ladies, I'm informed our time is up because you have to give away to Cheche. Remember, Udwa Kamemo is hosting the governor for Machakos, also the party leader for Maendeleo Chap Chap Party. They will be discussing the many defections in favor of that party, of course, alongside the regular panelists, that's Mutegi Njao and Charles Odhiambo. That will be in a short while. I want to give you an opportunity to give your final comments, but before that, let me read one headline that I know should matter to so many different people. Blow to household budgets as the cost of fuel rises to 26-month high. Starting today, you will pay for diesel 5 shillings more a litre. Yeah? And that means even transport and everything just goes up. This is the highest in over 2 years that Kenyans will have to pay for fuel. That story has been highlighted on the front page. Then it's hidden there. It's the headline of the business section of the Daily Nation. Remember, the doctor strike is still on. Private hospitals have actually closed for 48 hours. So even services at private clinics, you may not be able to access that. As you make your final comments, you could consider those two.
We do hope that other professions will pick up on the solidarity that has been shown by the doctors to bring sanity in different sectors. We now at last realize that it was not all about their salaries, but it was improving the health sectors. They were saying they're not going to go into institutions where people are dying, and so they wanted, so every profession, and it is to clean up the entire system. And I think a united opposition is going to be able to at least address some of these issues. I know we have been going around the country saying we are an alternative government that is ready to take on power. So the challenges of IBC, registering, meeting timelines should not worry people. We've been saying this ever since Jubilee came into power. We have highlighted their shortcomings. We have had an Okoa Kenya initiative that has borne fruit. And we do hope that people are going to stick to the cause.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Register in these 2 days that we have and go out and vote on August 8th. No changing of the date.
Senator.
Thank you very much. I just want to tell the doctors we know that it is important to have a remuneration package. It is also important to understand in negotiations there's where you come in together, you have to give and take. Think of what you can give and sit down. Let's move on as a country. But the most important thing also as we move forward as a country is that yes, we are going to an election. It is our country. If there are institutions that have been messed up, I think it's by CORD. They are the ones who finished us on this. They are the ones who have just gone to court to close that we cannot even audit that register. They are the ones again who have turned the tenders
for the past 4 years. We won't
I
have
think
it
what we
again.
are saying, we need a country that will respect institutions. And these are Kenyans who work in these institutions. They are not aliens that come from any other place. They are still Kenyans.
Thank you, Senator. Finally, Daisy.
You know, our politicians, I mean, on both sides of the divide. But let me also say this to Senator Elachi, that I think the government has even shown how it really doesn't respect institutions. So, I admire the resolve of the doctors, and I think it's completely, you know, we're in solidarity with them. I wish that Kenyans would be as resolute as the doctors in demanding for, you know, better services and service delivery as a country. I think it's unfortunate that it has had to come to this, and that, you know, the courts found that that was the best way forward in light of, you know, the negotiations, which, by the way, had not collapsed. People, you know, the government is talking about how the doctors are feeling, but we are seeing, you know, cases where the government is not even taking it seriously. I think that the president really needs to step in, perhaps fire people at the ministry, because this is just too much. But also, the increase of fuel at a time when the cost of living is so high, you know, the ripple effect of that is that we are going to see an increase in everything, you know, with the fares, the consumer goods, you know, and all that. And I think that even, you know, it just shows you how callous, you know, government is, because do they not have discussions even with the ERC on how, you know, the implications of such an increase. So I think that Kenyans need to begin to demand more from their leadership, and, you know, we need to, I hope that the doctors' strike will have the kind of ripple effect where Kenyans will see that even if you jail people, the rest come in solidarity. And I think let it be a lesson to Jubilee that Kenyans are tired of being pushed around.
Let it be a lesson to the governors and also to the country that it was wrong to devolve health. It was very wrong.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Daisy Amdani, analyst, member of the National Women's Steering Committee, Senator Beatrice Elachi, also Majority Senate Whip, and Cynthia Mutera, governance analyst, also the chair of the Women's League in Ford, Kenya, helping us look at the headlines this morning. One of the headlines that we missed because of time, but I think is important, is Crooked Teachers Fake Degrees to Go, a sneak peek into what is in universities' audit reports, which will be released tomorrow. That's on the Standard. You can get it and read for yourself. Power Breakfast still continues. My colleague Bejoy Mutengi will be interviewing today's band, Inira the Band, after this. After that, we'll have Cheche. My name is Fred Indemule. Good morning.